Citi sent me a card that never arrived. There is a 2K charge on it. They say it's my problem. Wow, that's a tricky one. Now, before we dive in, just a quick reminder. This video is for informational and entertainment purposes only, and should not be considered financial advice. Our full disclaimer is shown here and on our website. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Finance with Anthony. So today, here on the Personal Finance Reddit, I actually found a few stories that I felt were pretty fun and unique. So some of them are related to, for example, hey, Chase just closed all my accounts. What do I do now? Or I just bought a house with solar panels. Was this the right thing to do? So these are very unique situations that maybe you'll find yourself in one day. So let's dive right into the stories here on the Personal Finance Reddit and see what the fun is all about. So this very first one says, Chase closed all 4 of my accounts. Oh, that's that's a doozy. I'm 22 years old and Chase just closed all 4 of my credit cards, my personal checking account, which had about $5,000, and my business account, which had around $75,000. Wow. So for 22 years old, you got quite a bit of money there. So that's great. I called in and asked to speak with a supervisor and was told the reason was unusual activity. The only thing I did recently was pay off about $20K in credit card debt. I've never missed a payment and I was just trying to clean up my finances. I wasn't given any specific details beyond being flagged, and now I'm extremely worried about the impact this will have on my credit score, especially losing 4 accounts at my age. Is there any way to get Chase to reconsider or reopen the accounts? Has anyone dealt with something like this before? Should I escalate this or file a complaint somewhere? Any advice would be appreciated. A lot of people are saying that I should open new checking accounts with another bank. What other bank would you guys recommend where I won't have to face something like this again? Another question. Instead of having Chase issue me a check for my business account balance, can I just withdraw the full amount in cash? That way when I open a new bank account, I can deposit the cash directly and avoid waiting 7 to 10 business days for a check to clear. I run a business and managing cash flow is critical. My vendors give me 21-day terms, and if I don't pay on time, they stop selling to me. That's why I'd rather withdraw the full amount in cash instead of waiting 7 to 10 business days for a check to clear. But yeah, clearly trying to access my own money to keep my business running must mean I'm up to something shady. LOL. Update. Looks like they closed all 4 of my credit cards and my personal checking, but decided to leave my business account open. Literally just made an appointment with a bank or US bank and a local credit union to open accounts. So let's actually talk through this. So in most cases, when a bank actually closes your accounts, it means they see you as someone who's risky. So in most cases, it's not that you're doing it, but maybe they suspect you of doing it. So a lot of cases out there, the reason that they close people's account is because you're maybe accused of something called money laundering. So essentially, maybe you have money from illegal activities, and I won't mention them here on this channel, but yeah, you might have illegal activities that you're getting money from and then depositing into the bank, or doing transactions outside of the norm. There's a lot of businesses out there who are I'm not going to mention any names, but there's a lot of businesses out there who may use a storefront, but maybe they actually have a secondary business on the back end. So this happens very common, and forensic accounting uncovers this all the time. There's a lot of businesses out there who are illegitimate. There are a lot of businesses out there who are not legitimate. They might have a restaurant in the front, but there might be some other stuff in the back. So for what we want to do is, for these kinds of situations, what the bank will say is, hey, we're going to close all of your accounts, and we don't want to do business with you because we don't want to be accused of interacting with an individual might be doing things that we are not in line with. Once a bank decides not to work with you, then there's nothing you can do. They'll close all your accounts. And of course, I totally understand when it comes to cash, you need that, you need to keep things going. But the bank has the right to essentially, hold your funds for now while they do their investigation and then remit the funds to you, sadly. It's just the way things are. And overall, especially if you have a big check, you don't want to deposit cash into another bank, like a big cash amount, because usually that raises flags too. We're like, hey, where do you get the cash from? You have to report it, potentially show tax returns, depending on what kind of investigation they do on you. So you have to be very careful when you're depositing cash into a bank. So overall, especially anything over 10,000, you don't want to try to deposit that in cash. So Overall, just I would say in this situation, just go to another bank. I've had a lot of friends who have had their accounts closed. They didn't do anything wrong. They just seemed suspicious, but they weren't, And so a lot of cases, like my friends who were in Chase, for example, they went to Citibank, they went to TD Bank, they went to Bank of America. There's plenty of options out there. Hopefully, you just don't get banned from all of them. So that's my advice. And let's move on to the next post now. FSA is front loaded. I spent it all. I'm quitting in June. Do I have to pay it back? I had the full 2050 elected in the FSA in Jan. My husband had some big health issues and we've eaten through it already. Balance is 0. I have only contributed 4 months worth. Will I have to pay it back when I plan to leave my current job over the summer? It's not the type where the employer pays into it at all. It's front loaded then deducted from each paycheck to equal the full amount annually, if that makes sense. From what I'm reading, it doesn't look like I will have to pay it back, but I am a little shocked by that, hoping someone can clarify. I'm just trying to plan financially because I will owe them about $5,600 already when I leave due to continuing ed monies used and half of my retention bonus, amortized over the contract term. So let's talk through FSA, which is a flex spending account, versus HSA, health savings account. So the great thing about an FSA is that all of the money will usually be front loaded into the year. So you'll have access to the entire 100% balance at the beginning of the year. So you can spend it however you want, and then every month or every pay cycle, your employer would take a portion of that and then refill it. Basically, it's kind of like, hey, we'll cover it for now, and then you pay us back later. Now, let's say you leave early. Do you have to pay any of that back? No way, Jose. Usually, in most cases, you have the ability to actually take out the full funds, and you know who gets left with the bill? It's your employer. Which is okay. That's fine. They make enough money. It's fine. So your employer will have to pay, the full amount of the FSA once you leave. So you're under no legal obligation to pay back any of the FSA amount. Now, compare that to an HSA, health savings account. A health savings account actually starts off at $0 at the beginning of the year. And you do have to make the contributions every single month. However, one key thing to note between FSA and HSA is that an FSA is use it or lose it. So if you don't use it, you lose it. So that's it. An HSA, on the other hand, it does build over time. A health savings account. It does build over time. However, once you leave your employer, that money is yours to take. So no matter if you have a cent there or you have thousands of dollars in that health savings account or HSA, it's yours. You take it with you. No matter where you go, you can use it for whatever you need. And you could even, if you're diligent enough, if you save up to $2,000 in your HSA, you can actually use that to invest just like any other account. And anything that grows in HSA is, you actually put money in there pre-tax. Whatever grows in an HSA also grows tax-free. And on top of that, when you take money out of an HSA, it also does not get taxed. It has a triple tax, effectively a triple tax shield from everything. So it's immune to tax, basically. HSA is all powerful and one of the few things that can actually avoid tax in this world. So so definitely a powerful tool, and hopefully this helps. And best of luck with your new job. Citi sent me a card that never arrived. There is a $2,000 charge on it. They say it's my problem. Wow, that's a tricky one. So I applied and got a new Citi card. It was a while ago and the card never arrived. So I called in and told them I never received the card. They said, let's go over some transactions. And on the 21st, there was a transaction of $22.02. They say they won't mail me a new card unless I pay that balance. I thought this was the point of having a credit card. It's a safeguard from this. What do I do now? Edit. Just got off the phone with Citi credit cards fraud. The charge was a balance transfer. Someone grabbed a hold of my card and started a balance transfer, which apparently doesn't require the card to be activated. The initial operator assumed it was my balance transfer, hence the assistance I pay. So this is a very tricky situation. Because in this case, hopefully in some cases, actually a lot of cases nowadays, a lot of cards are pre-activated, especially if it's a card that you're renewing and things like that. You already had it and they're just sending you a new one to replace like the expiration date. There's a lot of cases where a lot of these cards are already activated, and even if they're not activated, balance transfers are you're actually able to do balance transfer even if the card's not fully activated. The full activation is more for like if you want to start swiping it and using transactions, which is crazy. So essentially, someone who finds your card can actually do a balance transfer and then try to pin you with the bill. However, one thing you can do to actually save yourself a little bit of a hassle, just to confirm the details, because usually when you do a police report or a written report, a written testimony per se, saying, hey, I never got the card. I didn't even know the account number of the card. I didn't know anything. Not a single thing. So how could I have spent the money? How could I have done the balance transfer? So, do a police report and then send it to the fraud department at the credit card company, noting, 1, you never got the card, and then 2, you have made a statement. There's a legal statement now, with the police, noting that you never got the card and you never performed this balance transfer. Once you actually do that, contact the fraud department and see if they can resolve this issue, noting that this was fraud and you shouldn't be entitled to this, to pay this back. A lot of cases they'll listen, they'll work with you. I've actually worked with Citi for a lot of years. I think I've worked with Citi for more than 10 years now, and in most cases they do fight for you. And a lot of cases they'll even report weird stuff that they think it's not yours. Sometimes it is mine, and they'll be like, hey, we just want to make sure it's you and it's not someone else. It looks kind of weird. It looks away from your spending habits. You're not spending on your Burger Kings, your McDonald's. You're buying a Gucci bag, and I'm like, yep, I totally get it. Yeah, I understand. That's not me. But in some cases, if I'm buying a gift for someone, it might be outside of my norm, and sometimes I'll spend a little bit more. Just not that long ago, I bought something for my mom, for example, and they're like, hey, is this you? Just making sure. And then yep, it was a gift for my mom. So definitely, work with your bank, work with the officials, and try to get yourself out of paying those $2,200, because that's a lot of bread, especially in this economy.
Hello everyone, my name is Anthony and I'm the host of TheLostSanctuary. I hope you've been enjoying our content so far, and if you have, please feel free to like and subscribe. Also, we have our website up here, and we also have some socials down here, and as always, leave your comments down below.
Bought home with solar lease. Solar company says seller should add me to their account to pay. I bought a new home that has a terrible solar lease on it. It was really through SunPower, but is now SunStrong management. They've already been a nightmare to deal with. We had to delay closing by a week because they were dragging their feet, but I signed the transfer agreement and we closed. That was 2 weeks ago. The seller paid their final payment on the closing date. I wanted to get my account set up on auto pay early, so I called them. The agent on the phone says it can take up to 6 months to transfer it to my name. He just said I reach out to escrow/the seller and ask them to add me as an authorized user to the account so I can pay the bill, which sounds batshit insane to me. I don't want my bank credentials on their account. He also said I can pay on the phone, but they won't tell me how much my payment is because I'm not on the account. According to the transfer agreement, I am on the hook for payments as of the close of escrow, so I don't want to end up with a bunch of late payments in 6 months. But also, if this company is refusing to facilitate a reasonable way for me to pay, what do I do? Anyone deal with these assholes before? Any advice? Edit. To clarify, there is no unsatisfied lien. I appreciate all of your feedback, but I am not asking for advice on whether or not to assume the lease. That ship has sailed. I have read their terms and was satisfied with the payments and remaining utility bill given my financial situation. My question is about what to do when a company doesn't provide a reasonable way to pay a bill. So, first things first. Should you buy a house that has a solar lease? I'm of the opinion of, in most cases, it's probably not a good idea. And this is probably contrary to what I feel because I actually have a solar lease on my property, but this is because it was my choice, and I felt like, with rising energy prices, I took a hedge, putting the solar lease. Now, thinking about this very clearly, if you have a home that actually has a solar lease, in most cases, it's advisable that maybe, it's not economically efficient for you, maybe paying $200 to $250, let's say, a month for a solar lease, when maybe your electric bills are probably going to be $100 a month. It doesn't make sense in a lot of cases, for those kinds of cases. Now, if you feel like maybe your home is going to consume a lot of electricity, but at the same time produce a lot using the solar panels, then of course you can ask for a report saying how much, how many kilowatts has the solar panel created and how much consumption is on the premises. Because in some cases, if your solar panels produce more than what is consumed, then you can actually, get a small kickback at the end of the year from the energy company, which is great. It's a small like Christmas bonus check or something. So yeah, it's great in that regard. However, in some cases, in my opinion, it's better to actually get off, if possible, have maybe the solar panels removed if you're not that's not something that you want. And yeah, if it's something that you don't want at all, in a lot of cases you can negotiate that as part of the settlement, where you say, hey, if I want to buy your home, I want the solar panels removed and I don't want that there. Now if you decide to actually keep this, a lot of the critical information you're going to have to say is like, hey, could we have a copy of the agreement between you and the company, because now I'm taking over that, so I need to know, what am I liable for? Is there what is the insurance policies of these solar panels? What are the monthly payments, which might escalate every year? There's sometimes an escalation clause in these. So there's a lot of factors contributing to owning solar panels, which you should know beforehand before you buy a property that has solar panels. So I personally enjoy solar panels because I have sometimes, my neighbors have been telling me that like energy prices have gone up, and they're paying like $500 to $600 sometimes in electric bills, while I pay like maybe, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I think I pay like $5 to $10 a month just in electricity because of the solar panels that I have. So it's definitely been a saving grace for me, at least. So I've hedged against these kinds of things. So especially during the colder months. Energy prices are just crazy right now, and they're going to keep going up, sadly. It's just the way of the world. So hopefully this helps, and let's move on to the next one. So this next one is very straightforward. It says, starting from zero, any advice helps. Was financially abused most of my life. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. That's finally free, but so incredibly lost. Paid down student loans to $20K, own car, and pay $1,000 a month on rent. No 401K, no HSA, starting base salary $40K a year, but room bonuses and promotions every 3 months. Any advice helps. So let's see what we can do for this individual. So if I were in your shoes, starting from your position, the first thing is, of my, let's say 50% of my take home, I would be using that for, of course, my necessary expenses, such as my rent, paying off any debt that I have. And then, of course, you don't want to be miserable. So, of course, you could use up to 30% of your thing, for any, wants. But I personally probably use like maybe 10% of my remaining money for wants. So that's like going out to eat, maybe buying, your favorite bag of chips. I have very simple pleasures, like buying video games once in a while and, things like that. I keep myself very busy, going to the gym sometimes. All these kinds of things are very, affordable things that you can do with your money. So, your wants can be very basic and very minimal, at least for now. And then the 40%, usually I think that's, for me, what I spend on a couple of things. The first thing is investing it. So, for example, I'll pay back some of my mortgage, for example. I do enjoy doing that. And then sometimes, I'll actually put away some money to do other investments. In my case, I usually put away money to, for my next down payment for another property. So I try to buy a property every 2 or 3 years if I can. So basically the way I do that is I actually put my money away, a portion of my money away, while of course trying to pay off my current house, and then continuing to find a way to then buy the next thing. So that's the way I've been doing my strategy. And of course, one thing to make sure of when you're thinking about all these kinds of things is that before you can even start investing or start doing anything, have 3 to 6 months of your emergency fund. I always try to have at least 6 months. Sometimes if you can't have 12 months, that's great, but I feel like that's a little bit aggressive. But I try to have at least 6 months. 6 months, saved up. And then I have other investments that pay me every month. So essentially, I can sometimes be 10 to 12 months without being employed, luckily, and then still have the ability to continue to pay all my bills and, not have to, God forbid, lose my house. So these are key things you need to do. And hopefully, once you're debt free, you have the ability, you have your emergency fund saved up. Then you could think about like, hey, what do I want to do with my money? You can actually go and, start doing your 401k. Some people recommend just doing up to the match. And if your employer doesn't have a match, maybe don't do that. Maybe set up your own, like maybe you're like your Roth IRA, do an HSA, which is perfectly fine. You can do an HSA. So do a Roth IRA, do an HSA, or go out there and just invest yourself. Go up an account in Fidelity. Start investing through them, because remember, about 9 times out of 10, a Roth IRA is not self-invested, or even 100% of the time, it's not really self-invested. So you need to invest in yourself. So make sure you're investing your, whatever is in your Roth IRA, your HSA, whatever it is. Make sure you're investing it. You're helping it grow. And then when you have the opportunity, go out there and expand your horizons. Buy a house, buy other things that, other assets, so you can diversify. And that's going to be the tools that are going to make you feel like, hey, I'm making progress. I'm getting to a new place in life that I want to be. So that's going to conclude Finance with Anthony, episode 22. Alrighty, everyone. I hope everyone out there has a blessed day, and adios, everyone.
Keep doing what you're doing. You're doing an amazing job, and I'm wishing everyone out there all the best. All right, until next time, adios.